In our headlines, Vietnamese businesses strengthen cooperation with Romanian and Czech enterprises. And later on in our crosstalk, the development of social enterprises in Vietnam. Hello there and welcome to another edition of BizLine here on VTV International. I'm Hoàng Hằng, and as usual, we'll begin with some economic highlights over the past week. On Tuesday, Prime Minister Nguyễn Xuân Phúc had a talk with business leaders of the two countries that attended the Vietnam-Romania Business Forum. Speaking to 200 delegates representing the businesses of the two countries, the Prime Minister said the trade turnover between the two countries has continuously increased but has not yet exceeded $250 million. At the forum, the Prime Minister also witnessed the signing memorandum of cooperation between the two countries' Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Some Vietnamese and Romanian businesses have also agreed to cooperate in the fields of real estate and education. Besides, on Wednesday, Prime Minister Nguyễn Xuân Phúc and Czech Prime Minister Andrej Babiš attended the Vietnam-Czech Business Forum, which was jointly organized by the Vietnam Chamber of Commerce and Industry and the Czech Confederation of Industry and Transport. Here, both Prime Ministers confirmed that they are committed to supporting the Vietnam-EU Free Trade Agreement, or EVFTA, and the EU-Vietnam Investment Protection Agreement. Also at the forum, the two Prime Ministers witnessed the signing of a memorandum of understanding for Czech's Danvit Express to invest $200 million to build 100 wind poles in Hà Tĩnh, an MOU to open a direct Hanoi-Prague flight route, and an agreement on the transfer of new canoe and boat technology from the Czech Republic worth $100 million. Vietnam export to member countries of the Comprehensive and Progressive Agreement for Trans-Pacific Partnership, or CPTPP, are expected to increase strongly through 2030, reaching 25% of the nation's total export. This is according to the Ministry of Industry and Trade. As many as 269 certificates of origin has been issued in the CPTPP since the pact took effect in January 2019. The Ministry of Planning and Investment has revealed Vietnam's export to the CPTPP countries would grow by 4.04% by 2035 and reach $80 billion through 2030. According to representatives from the Ministry of Industry and Trade, new supply chains would be formed to raise the whole economy, increase labor productivity, and enable businesses to participate in the higher value-added production chain. The U.S. has exempted 31 stream exporters of Vietnam from anti-dumping tariffs in the 13th period of review, or POR 13. This is according to the Vietnam Association of Seafood Exporters and Producers, VASEP. The U.S. Department of Commerce concluded that frozen stream products of two mandatory respondents in the review, Southern Foods Joint Stock Company, Fimex Vietnam, and Nha Trang Seafood Product Company, did not violate anti-dumping regulations in this period. Therefore, preliminary tariffs on those two companies and other 29 local stream exporters will stand at 0%. The tariffs serve as a foundation for Vietnamese exporters to obtain the lowest anti-dumping tariffs in the final result of the POR 13, helping these firms thrive in the U.S. market. The Vietnamese property market has proved more attractive to foreign investors with increasing international investment funds for profit-generating properties. According to the director of Vina Capital Ventures, the Vietnamese real estate market has been on the radars of foreign partners, citing research by global research firm Brain & Company that there will be around $70 billion invested in Southeast Asia, with 70% expected to flow to Vietnam and Indonesia. The first quarter of this year has seen active business in the residential sector, while offices continue to be one of the most exciting property sector across the region. Brand Finance, the world's leading independent branded business valuation and strategy consultancy, has valued Vietnam's national brand at $235 billion, a year-on-year increase of 16%. This puts the country among the top 50 most valuable national brands in the world, up 2 places from the 2017 ranking to rank 43rd. In Southeast Asia, Vietnam's brand value ranks 6th and $613 billion lower than the leading country in the region, Indonesia. According to London-based Brand Finance, due to the efforts of a national mark program called Vietnam Value, Vietnamese processed food industry now contributes upwards of $17 billion of the country exports. The apparel industry makes up over $200 billion of exports. Vietnam has implemented the national program Vietnam Value since 2003. The banking sector pledged to meet the capital needs of production and business, especially in 5 prioritized sectors. Deputy Governor of the State Bank of Vietnam, Đào Minh Tú, said at a conference connecting enterprises and banks in Hanoi. The 5 sectors include agriculture and rural development, exports, the parts supply industry, small and medium-sized enterprises or SMEs, and high-tech firms. According to State Bank, the banking sector would continue to create favorable conditions for firms to access credit, not only through simplifying procedures, but also by cutting costs to reduce lending rates. Those are some economic highlights over the past week. Up next in our crosstalk, we will take a look at the development of social enterprises in Vietnam. The concept of social enterprise was first known in Vietnam in 2008. Since then, the roles of social enterprises have been gradually recognized by the economy and the legal system. According to the 2014 Law on Enterprises, social enterprise is enterprise that spends at least 51% of its profit on investing in enhancing social welfare, such as vocational counseling, creating jobs for disadvantaged groups, or preserving cultural values and ethnic groups. Although social enterprise has been recognized by law, it is still said that this is just the first step in the long process of completing the legal framework and support policies for social enterprises. We'll find out more about this topic in today's crosstalk. First, let's start with the following clip.
In 2010, the first comprehensive report on social enterprises in Vietnam was released. Accordingly, the number of enterprises that had potential to become social enterprises was 1,000. In 2012, further research on policies for social enterprises was published. 2014 witnessed an important milestone as social enterprise was officially recognized by the Law on Enterprises. Since 2015, businesses have been able to register as social enterprises based on the law. According to the latest research on the scale, operation and policies for social enterprises that was carried out by the British Council Vietnam and the Central Institute for Economic Management, until last March, nearly 19,000 enterprises in Vietnam were social enterprises and businesses working towards social values.
We have invited to our studio today Dr. Trương Thị Nam Thắng, Director of a Center for Social Innovation and Entrepreneurship, National Economics University, to further discuss this topic. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you.
What do you think about the contribution of social enterprises in Vietnam since the concept was first introduced to the country more than 10 years ago?
Actually, I think it's quite difficult to measure the contribution of social enterprise sector up to now, but their main contributions is about empowering people. Nearly 50% of the social enterprise leaders are women, and also about the same numbers, 50% of the leadership team of social enterprise or social impact businesses come from disadvantaged background. They empower a lot, young people to be leaders. So the first one is highly inclusive in empowering. The second one is, as any business, it contributes a lot to the small and medium-sized sector, because 90% of the economic sectors come from small and medium company, and social enterprise, they rather be micro companies. And third one is, I think one of the biggest contributions of the social enterprise sector is about the awareness raising. So it changed the perceptions and it changed the business practice. It changed the buying, consumption behavior from community, from the corporate sectors, even from policies. Like you can observe recently, the Prime Minister even write an article about recognizing the company who promotes, plastic-free.
Now, currently, social enterprises only account for 4% of the total number of businesses in Vietnam. What do you think about this figure?
You can see this the reports that I recently performed this country report with UNDP and the University of Northampton in the UK, and 4% is not really social enterprise sector, but it's about socially responsible businesses. So 4% is somewhat the average in the world as well. And after 10 years of introduction, the new concept, I think this number is quite high compared to other economy. But still, the key things is what we care is the number of companies who register under the law, because up to now there's only 80 companies registered. So I think perhaps there's a question mark somewhere about why there's that small number of companies registered under the new law.
What can you tell about the growth of social enterprises during the last 10 years?
I think now the concept of social enterprise changed a little bit. Before, when we talk about social enterprise, we rather talk about, like the NGOs, non-governmental organizations. They convert themselves into social enterprise to be more financially sustainable. But these days, social enterprise is rather, like business oriented. And we rather talk now about social entrepreneurship. That means even the commercial business or the business in general, they just embed that kind of entrepreneurship, social entrepreneurship or social innovation in their current business. They can run business similar to a social enterprise model.
What areas are social enterprise in Vietnam focusing on, and what other sectors need more involvement from social enterprises, in your opinion?
The social enterprise sectors now rather work on 3 areas. The first one is education sector, education and training sectors for disadvantaged people, like, and then based on the training skills that they get, they can have more employment opportunities. And the second one is about healthcare and well-being sector. And the third one is rather agriculture, like sustainable agriculture sectors. I think this is the common practice in Vietnam for a commercial sector as well as social enterprise sectors, is a lack of focus on environmental issues. I think it's a must now. Everyone, including the social enterprise sector, need to focus on environmental issues.
A regular restaurant has only 30 to 40 employees, but in this one, the number of staff is 400. That's because this is a social enterprise that focuses on vocational training for the youth. It has to pay full wages, benefits, and taxes. And the enterprise also has to be competitive when it comes to price and quality.
The policymakers can help us to incentivize that by be able to give us some kind of incentives to ease that financial burden, so we can actually have a bit more money, funds.
The definition of social enterprises in the law on enterprises has created more favorable conditions for companies like this to promote and receive support from other businesses. However, in reality, it's quite different.
Tôi chỉ muốn là kiểu mình sẽ có thêm những cái chương trình, những chính sách nào đó để ưu đãi rõ rệt hơn, nó cụ thể hơn. Em nghĩ rằng cái xã hội hiện tại cần rất nhiều thêm nữa các doanh nghiệp xã hội, vì không chỉ là con người mà môi trường cũng sẽ bị ảnh hưởng rất nhiều nếu như các doanh nghiệp xã hội không có thể vận hành và phát triển được.
According to experts, social enterprises in Vietnam operate in many forms, so preferential policies for them should be more inclusive.
Tôi nói ví dụ như một cái trung tâm đào tạo mà họ cung cấp đào tạo cho người khuyết tật, và khi mà họ như thế thì cái ưu đãi mà họ được hưởng là sẽ nằm dưới cái ưu đãi của luật người khuyết tật. Mà thực ra thì cái sứ mệnh và cái mô hình hoạt động của họ là một doanh nghiệp xã hội, thì tôi kỳ vọng rằng là họ cũng sẽ có được những cái nhìn nhận dành riêng cho cái loại hình doanh nghiệp xã hội.
Chính phủ cũng cần có cái nghiên cứu về mặt hỗ trợ chính sách, đặc biệt là liên quan đến thuế, và cái cơ hội tiếp cận về vốn cho doanh nghiệp xã hội. Bởi vì cái tiếp cận về vốn cũng rất là quan trọng. Doanh nghiệp xã hội thì họ rất là yếu về mặt thông tin và cái tài sản thế chấp của họ rất là hạn chế.
Experts also suggest that there should be a system that provides a comprehensive set of information on all policies and incentives for social enterprises.
What are your comments on the current support policies for social enterprises and their abilities to approach these policies?
Yes, actually, during my research last year, by screening on the legal framework and supporting policies, beside the enterprise law, there's no specific supporting policies for social enterprise. But there's different related laws or policies that can support the sectors. Like we have the laws, some policies for the businesses that provide services in education and healthcare. So they get 0% in terms of VAT, or if over 30% of your staff are people with disabilities, you also get zero tax, income tax. Or if you invest in, like disadvantaged background area or people, you also get something like 0% of income tax for the first 5 years. Even if you run the model as a social enterprise, but in terms of legal framework, you register as cooperative. There's a lot of supporting policies for cooperative. So actually the key things is the access to the information that I have just said is limited. Actually it's available, but the people who work in the social enterprise sector, they don't know that. I think this is quite common for business in Vietnam is a lack of legal knowledge. I think in order to promote the social enterprise sector, we need specific for supporting social enterprise, but there's a way to support the access to this kind of legal or supporting policies is really necessity.
A common challenge for social enterprises is a limited capital, but they often have high operation costs compared to other businesses. So what measures should the state take to help social enterprises overcome this difficulty?
Normally, social enterprise, the operation cost of a social enterprise is higher than commercial business because they are very inclusive. They employed and trained, all the disadvantaged background. They are not the most productive on the market, and they try to treat people with respect, even whoever they are. So it leads to the high cost. For sure, it's similar to other supporting policies. The government can support by provide free or subsidized training for social enterprise, or help to ease the access to land use or land rental or infrastructure rental, and also like interest rate lower than the other one.
Employees of social enterprises are often disadvantaged group, as you stated before, with limited working skills and productivity. So what support mechanisms are needed to help social enterprises be more efficient?
I also support social enterprise, and I spend a lot, like every Saturday of myself to support and build capacity of management for social enterprise. And I found that they lack business skill and management skills. The business, they need to be more entrepreneurial. For example, the human resource cost. So one of the human resource of the social enterprise is the volunteers. So they forget to utilize the volunteers. They can employ seasonal staff like accountant or marketing staff instead of employing the full-time staff. Many social enterprises, they work on handicraft sectors, and I think like for handicraft you need to be 100% by hand. But when I look at their production, for example, I see that there's some of the process, the stages of the production, they can automate it. They can automate the productions, and then it increases the productivity.
This social enterprise specializes in comprehensive support for people with disabilities by providing training, job orientation, and an outlet for their products. Meanwhile, this technological company was established in 2013 with a view to saving time for passengers traveling coach. Despite serving different people, these two enterprises have one thing in common, creating values for the community.
Sau nhiều các cái quá trình hoạt động thì bên mình cũng thường tổ chức các cái hoạt động, các cái sự kiện để gọi là thay đổi nhận thức của cộng đồng về năng lực của người khuyết tật cũng như là về vấn đề khuyết tật.
Khi mà giải cái bài toán mà xếp hàng mua vé cũng như là làm sao để mà có những cái vé xe giá rẻ thì nó cũng một phần nào đó hỗ trợ cho những cái cộng đồng.
However, social enterprises and the business community that have an impact on society face many challenges in accessing loans or investment funds and balancing between profit and social missions. Therefore, it is necessary to develop an ecosystem for social enterprises.
Hệ sinh thái đó không chỉ có nhà nước mà cần những cơ quan nghiên cứu, những cơ quan trung gian hỗ trợ, những tổ chức cung cấp vốn tài chính để hỗ trợ phát triển doanh nghiệp cùng chung một chí hướng.
In recent years, subjects related to social enterprise have been included in curricula of some universities. In this class, each group of students has to simulate a social enterprise and present their business models. Through classes like this, students can explore various business models of social enterprises.
Em thấy đây là một kiến thức rất là thiết thực bởi vì đây là một hiện tượng ở trong xã hội và đây là một xu thế mới của các startup. Thì em nghĩ là ngoài những kiến thức cơ bản trong sách thì việc mà thêm những kiến thức về thực tế như thế này là rất là có ích cho em.
Bên cạnh những kiến thức về kinh doanh thì em thấy cái này nó giúp nâng cao cái tình người, cư xử một cách bình đẳng hơn so với tất cả những người xung quanh. Và thực sự là em nghĩ là không chỉ cái cấp bậc đại học này bọn em cần được học mà em nghĩ là nên giáo dục ngay từ những cấp 2, cấp 3 khi mà các em đã có nhận thức hơn về những môi trường xung quanh và về những con người xung quanh mình rồi.
This university established a center for social innovation and startups, which create chances for students to join activities related to social enterprises. These activities include sustainable consumption campaigns, creating a digital map of social enterprises in Vietnam, or startup competitions for social enterprises.
Em nghĩ là mai sau thì mình có thể là làm trong những cái tổ chức phi chính phủ hoặc là một cái doanh nghiệp xã hội nào đấy để có thể thúc đẩy cái hoạt động hay là giúp sức của mình trong những cái hoạt động của doanh nghiệp xã hội. Vì thực sự là vào đây thì em đã được truyền cảm hứng rất nhiều.
In October this year, the university will launch a master's program on innovation and startups for the society in cooperation with foreign universities.
Well, currently there's a rising trend of startup for community and society, especially among the youth. So what are your assessment of the support of such startup ideas?
What you said, like the startup among youth for social and community purpose, we call it like impact startup. The key things when we screening the activities of impact startup is that many of them they don't know how to access to incubators. You know, the government recently they invest heavily on the startup scenario, but the true effective incubators still lacking in the country. To start up a impact venture, the first one you need to know how to do startup. So all the basic business skill, entrepreneurial skill. But the characteristic of a social impact startup is about hybridity. That means it's a hybrid model where you need to create value for customers, but also you create value for beneficiaries, the one that you help and the one you support. What we train a little bit different to the commercial, normal startup is about the hybridity of value propositions that each of the impact startup, they need to create for customers and beneficiaries. So in an impact startup, there's not only the customer who pay for their products, but also the donors who pay for their positive impact value. And also they need to care about beneficiary, the one that they want to support. And the last one is about the performance management of impact startup. The performance of impact startup is measured not only by financial criteria, but also the social impact. How much and how many people that they can help, and how they change the quality of life of the people they help.
Do you think that it's necessary to have an ecosystem of social enterprises in Vietnam, and what activities should be carried out to boost the development of this ecosystem?
Because we have about 10 years of developing the ecosystem for social enterprise, And you can see like we are also in the startup nation period of the country. So there's already the ecosystem for social enterprise, including like policies, education, training activities. We have incubators, we have intermediaries, we have impact investment fund. So everyone is trying to support social enterprise as an ecosystem. The only thing that we see is about synergy. Is that they need to, all these kind of efforts need to be connected.
Can you give some analysis on the future trend of social enterprises and business activity for the society in Vietnam?
It seems like there's two concepts here. The first one is social enterprise, and the second one is about the corporate social responsibility, activity of corporates. Actually, some multinational company like Coca-Cola or they are doing is that they use the CSR fund of the company rather for charity activities, but they invest in the social enterprise. So, or they can create a business branch of social enterprise. So this is already a trend in Korea or in UK, in US. So I can see this is the future for the practice of CSR of big corporations. And for social enterprise, I rather think like the numbers will grow. Some of the universities see that this is the new trend and new opportunities, so we focus more on research activities. We develop the education program, like my center, we're developing the Master for Social Innovation and Entrepreneurship. And there's more, the international collaborations activities, because social enterprise is not the local movement, it's a global movement.
Well, once again, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
As the business community develops and becomes more successful, the trend of social enterprises and entrepreneurs for social welfare will be promoted. Prioritizing social responsibilities other than economic benefits has also become the choice of many enterprises in the world. If they are supported by the community and the state, social enterprises will have more motivations to fulfill its mission, inspire the society, and become an effective force in addressing pressing social welfare issues. And that's it for this edition of BizLine. In the meantime, feel free to catch us online at vtv4.vtv.vn or install our mobile app VTV4Go for more news and entertainment. Thanks for tuning in, and goodbye from Hanoi.